The USS Gerald R. Ford, the most expensive and constantly delayed next-generation aircraft carrier, was deployed only a few months ago. The world's biggest aircraft carrier cost a total of $13.3 billion and was approved by the U.S. Navy in late 2021. Many people believe that the money would have been better spent elsewhere. However, as you will see, that money has bought an extremely durable and incredibly powerful carrier. Before we let you know more about this legendary ship, make sure to subscribe to our channel, History of Ships. And now, let's get back to the USS Gerald R. Ford. The U.S. Navy's newest and most modern aircraft carrier departed from Norfolk, Virginia for its inaugural deployment, meant to put the ship through her paces and practice with allies in North America and Europe. According to the U.S. Navy, the USS Gerald Ford is the first new aircraft carrier developed in over 40 years. According to a U.S. Navy statement, the carrier's construction formally began in November 2009 and was commissioned by former President Donald Trump in 2017. The USS Enterprise, the first nuclear-powered carrier, was commissioned in 1961. It had 8 nuclear reactors and could run for more than 3 years before needing to be refueled. The Enterprise weighed 75,700 tons, carried 100 jet aircraft, and had a top speed of more than 30 knots. The Enterprise was replaced by 10 Nimitz-class carriers beginning in 1975. These 81,600-ton carriers were powered by only 2 nuclear reactors, but they could achieve speeds equivalent to the Enterprise, and their uranium cores only needed to be replaced every 13 years. The smaller propulsion system provided greater capacity for aviation fuel storage, allowing the 90 aircraft carried on these ships to operate for longer periods of time. The final Nimitz carrier was commissioned in 2009, while the keel for the first Gerald R. Ford-class ship was laid the same year. The first ship in the class, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was delivered to the U.S. Navy in 2017, more than 2.5 years late, and about $3 billion over budget. The Ford-class carriers were roughly the same size as the Nimitz carriers, but technological advances lowered the crew numbers to as few as 2,500. Ford adds a number of innovative technology aboard that are intended to make the carrier air wing function more quickly and effectively. The ship offers in-deck refueling to make it easier to fuel planes without dragging hoses over the flight deck. The ship also has innovative technology for aircraft launch and recovery systems. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System (EMALS) and Advancing Arresting Gear (AAG) are both innovative technologies that have undergone considerable testing in recent years. The traditional steam-powered catapult was replaced by a 330-foot-long linear synchronous motor, an electric motor with a series of magnetic coils that propelled the launcher and connected aircraft along the carrier's deck. Electromagnetic launching minimized stress on the aircraft and launching systems. Moreover, the system's energy could be adjusted to aircraft of varying weights. Electromagnets were also used in arresting gear. We've gone from a very archaic way of catching aircraft per se with hydraulics that slowly advances into some electronic upgrades. With this new system, we are able to put less stress on the ship, on the system itself, and on the aircraft. Justin Knighton, who is taking over as the Airplane Launch and Recovery Equipment Maintenance Officer on board Ford, spoke to reporters in one of the Advanced Arresting Gear's machinery spaces. There's a lot more sense of reliability as far as being able to recover the aircraft safely, a lot more redundancy. Like I said, just a lot better overall as far as taking care of the aircraft and the longevity and life of the aircraft and the equipment. Knighton said the sailors' familiarity with the new AAG system had increased dependability, but he admitted the crew still has work to do to bring AAG to where it needs to be in years to come and on future Ford-class carriers. Longevity-wise, we have gotten a lot more proficient. A lot of that has to do with our operators becoming a lot more involved in the systems, having repetition behind the wheel, being able to identify things at quicker levels, Knighton said. And then, as new software comes out and new hardware changes, kind of take a little step back. It takes us a little time to get used to the new stuff, identify reliability issues and come through them, and work with our engineering team up at Lakehurst to develop an engineering change proposal to come through that in the long run. According to Knighton, the dependability of EMALS, the new launching mechanism that does not require steam like the catapults on the Nimitz-class carriers, has also improved. During the 2-month time frame, Ford's staff loaded almost 1,200 tons of ammunition worth around $400 million. According to Fish, it required 1,400 elevator lifts over 2.5 days. That's a very good, respectable first time out of the gate evolution. That is varsity numbers for our first time, and that was absolutely on the work of my sailors here, he said. However, the ship has received harsh criticism from both Congress and the White House. Former President Donald Trump frequently criticized the Ford, both its look and its onboard technology, and said it would never function, while one congresswoman referred to it as a $13 billion nuclear-powered berthing barge. Nonetheless, despite previous criticism from the Pentagon's chief weapons tester, the new technology put into the USN's most recent aircraft carrier has proven valuable during its maiden operational deployment. So, what's next for the aircraft carrier? Gerald R. Ford has already returned to Naval Station Norfolk following its first deployment. During their tenure at sea, the carrier and its strike group focused on air defense, anti-subsurface warfare, dispersed maritime operations, and a transfer of authority with NATO. This trip was intended to prepare the carrier for a longer, more usual deployment next year and familiarize the crew with the vessel's latest technology. While deployed, the carrier visited Halifax, Canada and Portsmouth, United Kingdom, and worked alongside ships from Canada, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, Germany, Spain, Finland, and Sweden. The ship was also one of 5 Allied aircraft carriers that operated together this month in the U.S. 6th Fleet to promote NATO interoperability. The destroyers Ramage, McFall, and Thomas Hudner are part of Ford's carrier strike group, as are the cruiser Normandy, the replenishment oiler Joshua Humphreys, the dry cargo ship Robert E. Peary, and the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Hamilton. Given the short service-retained deployment, the Ford strike group was commanded by Admiral Mike Gilday, Chief of Naval Operations, rather than a regional combatant commander, as would be the case in a global force management deployment. While spending the holidays away from home, the USS Gerald R. Ford crew, a first-in-class aircraft carrier, joined forces with their Navy family on November 24th to make Thanksgiving a special and unforgettable occasion. The chefs on board Ford cooperated in preparing their largest meal of the year. The main attraction was a 1,000-pound turkey, 900-pound prime rib, and 400-pound honey-baked ham. From 2 to 6 p.m., more than 5,000 pounds of meat, sides, and desserts were served. The smell of turkey filled the air beneath the ship's skin as Ford's culinary professionals worked hard to make the crew's Thanksgiving special. Cooking this feast requires a team effort and may be very demanding. A small team of 176 culinary professionals and food service attendants was committed to giving thousands of crew members a taste of home for the holidays. In addition to the efforts of the Supply Division, the First Class Petty Officer Association, along with the volunteers from the Chief's Mess, offered to prepare, serve, and clean up meals for the crew. Now that must be an unforgettable Thanksgiving. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment below, or let us know what you think about the USS Gerald R. Ford. Also, if you're new to this channel, subscribe and click the notification bell to get notified when we upload more content.